Hi, I welcome you all to this session where we are going to see about the uniform and non-uniform bending of beams. And taking you along on this journey is Dr. Yunus Jerusha, an assistant professor of physics. Nature supports two types of bending, the uniform bending and the non-uniform bending. Uniform bending occurs in a beam when the beam is uniformly loaded at both ends and the bent beam forms the arc of a circle. An elevation is produced in the beam. Consider a beam of negligible mass symmetrically supported at the two knife edges at A as well as at B. L is the length of the beam supported between the two knife edges. Loads W are placed at C as well as at D. Therefore, the distance between the knife edge and the loaded end at C is X. Similarly, the distance between the knife edge at B and the loaded end at D is small x. Due to the loading at either ends of the beam is bent upwards and is said to undergo an elevation small y. The elevation produces the arc of a circle. There are two forces acting on either section of the beam. There is a downward acting tensile force and a corresponding opposite force at the knife edge, and this force is called as the reaction. The perpendicular distance between these two equal and opposite forces is x. Similarly, at the other section of the beam, there is a tensile force acting in the downward direction and there is a reaction acting in the upward direction with the perpendicular distance between them being small x. The two forces create two bending moments, the external bending moment and the internal bending moment. The external bending moment is given by W into x and the internal bending moment is given by yig by r. And we know that under equilibrium conditions, the external and the internal bending moments are going to be equal. Therefore, we proceed to equate equations 1 and 2. In this equation 3, we need to find an expression for r, the radius of curvature. Therefore, we proceed to what is called as the intersecting chord theorem, and in order to use this intersecting chord theorem, we extrapolate the arc which we obtained from the beam in the form of a circle. Inside the circle, we draw a chord across the diameter. This is the chord which is drawn across the diameter, and therefore we have a segment L by 2 on the right hand side and we have another segment L by 2 on the left hand side. The diameter is also divided into two segments. One segment has a length y and the other segment in the diameter has a length 2r minus y, where r stands for the radius of the circle and y stands for the elevation. L here stands for the length of the beam between the two knife edges at A and B. This is the intersecting chord theorem. If two chords intersect inside a circle, then the product of the lengths of the segments of one chord equals the product of the lengths of the segments of the other chord. Therefore, we have here, according to the equation shown here, L by 2 into L by 2, which is the product of the segments of the chord which we drew, equal to the product of the segments of the diameter, which is y into 2r minus y. On simplifying this, we get L square by 4 equals 2ry, and on rearranging the terms, we obtain r to be equal to L square by 8y, which we call as equation 4. We now substitute this equation 4, which is the expression for r, in equation 3, and we obtain Wx to be equal to 8y yig by L square. Rearranging again in order to obtain the Young's modulus of the material of the beam, we have y to be equal to Wx L square divided by 8yig. We now substitute W as mg, and we have the formula for the Young's modulus of the material of the beam to be y equals mgxl square divided by 8yig. And ig we know is the geometric moment of inertia, and it varies for a circular beam as well as that for a rectangular beam. This we call as equation 4. For a circular beam, the geometric moment of inertia is given by Ig is equal to pi r power 4 by 4. Substituting this value of Ig in equation 4 in the previous slide, we obtain the Young's modulus for a circular beam to be mgxl square divided by 2y pi r power 4. Similarly, for that of a rectangular beam, Ig is given by BD cube by 12, which on substitution in equation 4 gives the Young's modulus for a rectangular beam to be 3mgxl square by 2y BD cube. To experimentally verify the Young's modulus for the material of a beam by uniform bending, we have a beam of length L, and it is supported on either side by two knife edges, and equal loads are placed on either side. A pin is fixed at the center of a beam, and in front of this setup, a travelling microscope is placed. The realistic experimental setup is seen here. This is the beam. It's a wooden beam. At the center of the beam, a pin is placed in order to find out the position of the pin. We have two loads on either side. These loads are in the form of slotted weights on this end as well as at the other end. There are two knife edges, wooden knife edges, to support the beam horizontally, and in front of this entire setup we have a travelling microscope which is used to measure the position of the pin. The front view of the travelling microscope is shown here. It consists of a microscope whose eyepiece is seen here, and it is through this eyepiece we see the pin, and through this the exact position of the pin and its corresponding reading is taken from these two scales. This long scale is called as a main scale. It has readings calibrated as in a meter scale. This small scale seen here is called as the vernier scale. The sum of these two readings is what gives us the position of the pin. This one here is the magnifying glass, which enables us to see a magnified view of the readings present on the main scale as well as on the vernier scale. From the readings which are taken in the travelling microscope, we find the elevation which the beam undergoes for various loads which are placed on the beam. The vernier calipers is used to measure the breadth of the beam. The vernier calipers, this is the vernier scale and this scale is the main scale. These are the two jaws which are present in the vernier scale, and it is between these two jaws we place the beam in order to measure the width or the breadth of the beam. The screw gauge is another measuring instrument used in this experiment. We use it to measure the thickness D of the beam. The beam is placed between the two jaws of the screw gauge and the thickness D of the beam is measured. Considering the empty weight hanger as the dead load W, the microscope is adjusted and the tip of the pin is made to coincide with the origin. The reading is noted from the vertical scale of the microscope. The first reading is written under the loading column. Now, the load on each hanger is increased in equal steps of 50 gram and the corresponding microscope readings are written under the loading column. The procedure is repeated now by decreasing the load in steps of 50 gram. Therefore, the readings are noted from the last row and upwards. The mean of the loading and the unloading readings are written under the mean column, and using the readings which are in the mean column, the elevation of the beam for a mass of m kg is noted down. The readings which are written in the elevation column are obtained by taking the difference between every two successive readings which are there in the mean column. From this, we proceed and find out what is m by y. The mean m by y value is calculated. Using the elevation values and the load values, a graph is drawn with the load along the x-axis and elevation along the y-axis. A positively sloped line is obtained and the slope of which on substitution in the formula for the Young's modulus gives us the Young's modulus of the material of the beam which was subjected to uniform bending. Let us look at the second type of bending called as the non-uniform bending. When a beam is loaded at its midpoint, the beam is bent non-uniformly and a depression is formed which will not form the arc of a circle. Let us consider a beam of length L, where L is the distance between the two knife edges. The load of weight W is suspended at the center. It is found that the beam bends and the maximum displacement is at the center where the load is applied. Due to the load which is applied at the center, the reaction W by 2 is found to act vertically upward at each of the knife edges. Therefore, this is called as non-uniform bending. The beam may therefore be considered to possess two cantilevers whose free end carries a load W by 2 and each has a length L by 2 fixed at the center. Hence, we can say that the depression which this beam undergoes is small y. For a cantilever of length L and load W, the depression is given by small y is equal to WL cube divided by 3yIg. This we call as equation 1. For a cantilever of length L by 2 and load W by 2, as in our case, the depression small y produced for a beam which is bent non-uniformly, we have W by 2 into L by 2 the whole cube divided by 3yIg. On simplification, we have WL cube divided by 48yIg, which we call as equation 2. From equation 2, on rearranging the terms, we obtain the Young's modulus for the material of the beam to be WL cube divided by 48yIg. But we know that W is equal to mg, and on substitution of W as mg in equation 3, we obtain y to be equal to mgl cube divided by 48yIg, where y, as we all know, is the Young's modulus of the material of the beam and Ig stands for the geometrical moment of inertia of the beam. The experimental setup is shown in this picture. It consists of a beam which is symmetrically supported at its ends by means of knife edges. One of the knife edges is this. The other one is seen here. A weight hanger is suspended at the center and a pin is fixed vertically at the center of the beam. In order to focus the tip of the pin and to note down the various positions of the pin while the beam undergoes depression for various loads, a travelling microscope is placed in front of this arrangement. Taking the weight hanger as the dead load W, the microscope is adjusted and the tip of the pin is made to coincide with the horizontal cross wire. The reading is noted from the vertical scale of the microscope and is written here in the tabular column. Now, weights are added in steps of 50 grams and the corresponding readings are noted in the loading column of the tabular column. The same procedure is repeated while unloading and the readings are tabulated in the tabular column as shown. The mean value of the loading as well as the unloading readings are noted down here, and from which we find out the depression y for a mass of m kg. In our case, the depression has been calculated for a mass of 50 grams by taking the difference between every two consecutive readings. From here, we proceed on to find m by y, and the mean m by y value is found out. Using the load value and the corresponding depression, a graph is drawn. The graph we obtain is a positively sloped line from which the slope BC by AC is found. This value of the slope on substitution in the formula for y, the Young's modulus, gives us GL cube divided by 48Ig into the reciprocal of the slope, and from which we find out the Young's modulus for the material of the beam. Thus, we can experimentally as well as graphically find out the Young's modulus for a beam which undergoes non-uniform bending. Summarizing uniform and non-uniform bending, which we just saw, uniform bending has every element of the beam to be bent with the same radius of curvature, while for non-uniform bending, the radius of curvature is different for different elements in the beam. Also, for uniform bending, the beam is uniformly loaded on either ends of the beam, whereas in the case of non-uniform bending, the beam load is not a constant. For the case of uniform bending, the beam is elevated due to the load, and in the case of non-uniform bending, the beam is depressed due to the load. To summarize, the Young's modulus for the material of a beam which undergoes uniform bending is given by mgxl square divided by 8yig, and on substitution of the appropriate values of ig for the circular and the rectangular beam, we obtain for a circular beam mgxl square by 2y pi r power 4, and for that of a rectangular beam which undergoes uniform bending, we have 3mgxl square divided by 2y bd cube. For the case of a beam which undergoes non-uniform bending, in general we have the formula for the Young's modulus of the material of the beam to be mgl cube divided by 48 yig. Again, for a circular beam, we substitute ig to be pi r power 4 by 4, and we have mgl cube divided by 12y pi r power 4 for a circular beam. For the case of a rectangular beam, we substitute ig to be bd cube by 12, and we have the Young's modulus for a rectangular beam undergoing non-uniform bending to be mgl cube divided by 4y bd cube. Thank you for your patient listening. Hope you've understood this session on uniform and non-uniform bending of beams.